Hello and welcome to the Football Show. We're going to have a look at what we've seen so far. I know it's early days in the Premier League, but the transfer window has now slammed shut. Not pulled to, no, it's slammed shut. So now we know the players that these teams will have to contend with until the January one does open. Paul Parker is alongside me to have a look at what we have seen so far. And we're going to start with the champions, Paul. They're odds on Man City to win the league. They're now odds against after that defeat to Tottenham. Jack Grealish has come in. They've lost Aguero, they've lost Eric Garcia. In terms of the whole business, do you still think they are the team to beat this season?
I do believe they are. I mean, you can look at them and say they haven't got an natural goal scorer. But
I mean, if his concern is that they didn't get Harry Kane over the line, they clearly wanted him, and yet they didn't go for anybody else.
To win a league, you need goals from all around. You don't just win a league having a natural goal scorer. I remember back in the 80s, Everton had Gary Lineker. They sold Gary Lineker to Barcelona the following season. They won the league. So goals come. You get teams have got it around, and not just someone you identify as your goal scorer. You need goals from everywhere. City can do that, and they've got a way of playing. Pep's got different ideas to most managers. I think there's a way around it. Jack Grealish, for me, if I was talking about Harry Kane and desperate for him, and it was about the costings, did they really need to go and spend all that money in Jack Grealish? Because he wasn't really needed. They weren't desperate for a Jack Grealish. I just wonder, was Jack Grealish got by Man City to stop other people getting him? You just look at it and he was unnecessary in certain ways for City. I could see other sides wanting him, but City didn't really need him.
They have many of that playmaker type, don't they?
They've got more playmakers already. Grealish has just gone on top of it.
Moving on from Man City, are Chelsea the main danger? They bring Lukaku in, Saul Niguez from Atletico Madrid late last night. It's a great sign. I know United were massively interested in him. And they've kind of recouped the money as well, haven't they? They've got Tomori gone to Milan, Abraham out to Roma. So the net spend isn't that great. And yet they're European champions and they look to have strengthened once again.
They do. I mean, I saw their last Premier League game. You look at what was on the bench and you think to yourself, that's really, really good way on the bench. And when you look at them as individuals, you know they're hungry players as well, want to prove a point. Tuchel has got these players playing and there's no sulkers. You can see every time a player gets a chance or an opportunity, I should say, you see there's an injection, there's something about them, there's a buzz. They're trying their best to work really hard. I like the way he manages. He virtually conducts the way to do it with a little bit more of a smile on his face than what Conte had. Conte was very similar in the way he managed, very dramatic and very much his arms going and demanding players stay in line. He's very, very much the same Tuchel, but he's got a more gentle way of doing it. He talks to the players after. There must be a good vibe around Stamford Bridge at the moment because Chelsea, and proved at the weekend, are definitely the team to beat. Yes, they had 10 men. We've seen so many teams go down to 10 men and you go in there, they were heroes. And that's what you call them. But you look at the way Chelsea done it, and it was really structured in that manner. The biggest letdown for Chelsea against Liverpool was Lukaku, who was anonymous with 11 men, was even more anonymous with 10 men. That's when you needed your centre forward to grab it and earn you a foul. And so the back four and the midfield can push up. He never done that once. It was an onslaught for him.
For £98 million, what do you expect him to shine, or is there still that little bit in his game which we saw prior to him going to Italy, didn't we?
Yeah,
Jury's still out.
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, when you needed him, you thought all the lessons he'd learned from being away from Premier League, going to Inter Milan, doing ever so well at Inter, then coming back and wanting to prove a point, grab hold of the ball, get a foul, or even better, roll somebody and run into a corner. Take the game away from your defenders. Let them have a breather. And he never done that once for him. And when he did lose it, by the way, Matt, his arms were throwing up in the air, and he doesn't give a good vibe to me.
But he did do it against Arsenal, who we know are a side who can be bullied at the back.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about it. He might have known in his head. He knows that Van Dijk is stronger than him and just accepted it. But against Arsenal, he wanted to bully him. He wanted to push people. There's one time he's running in the box with Mari, chasing back when he scored. I think when he scored the second one, and virtually he's just Mari's tried to run past him. He's just got his shoulder in front and just gone bang. He's gone over. Just do that. But I don't know. I really don't know. But it was a big game, and they always say he doesn't really shine in big games.
If one man's going to get the best of him, that will be Tuchel. And you think they are the biggest dangers? to City this season.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I don't think anyone really comes close over a season. Yes, there's going to be tough games. Your Liverpool, your Manchester United, and maybe even Spurs to a point in the way they're going. But when you look at it over a season and looking at, it's a marathon, Chelsea are the team.
I want to mention the Chelsea-Liverpool game because it was kind of interesting looking forward into what we're going to talk about now, because you mentioned Lukaku was sulking, it was an onslaught, but Liverpool couldn't break Chelsea on. As excellent as Chelsea were at the back, Liverpool's front three, Firmino has taken a knock. He might be out for a couple of weeks after international break with a hamstring injury. They had Jota to come on, but they're only one injury away now from them front three. They're having Origi as the backup. They haven't strengthened going forward. They've just brought one centre-back in, but they've signed up everybody else, Liverpool. How could not having an addition up top hinder them going forward this season?
We can always talk about injuries and suspensions at certain times, and that's the idea of having a squad, really. So he just maybe have to change his formation if one of those three at the moment got injured. But
just looking at the Chelsea game, and he can look to his bench, and there was no. I mean, Jota came on the first half. There's no other way he could change it to try and break them down.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but then you look at it, and Jota coming in for Firmino. Firmino is about making goals rather than scoring a lot of goals. Jota does a lot of work with and without the ball, but continuity plays a big part. They all know each other. They've all won a league together. So there is that little bit there for him to work with, and him knowing and trusting all those players around. Liverpool will be always competing, especially their home games. Not many teams are going to go there and win at Anfield this season compared to last season, which was ridiculous at how many points they dropped at home. But you still have to say, with all those players who've got that experience of winning leagues, it makes a massive difference. Chelsea, when you look at their back, the way they defended, and you look at the players that they've had there for a while, and you look how they're defending now, and again I say under Tuchel, when he seemed to have joined them together. Alonso looking like a solid defender. That's something that's never been said before. Looking like he's enjoying himself. At the moment, he's playing regularly. Everyone thought Chilwell was going to be the person because of Alonso, and all of a sudden you see Alonso has just gone in there, and he played at Liverpool, where normally you think, so I'm going to take you away. You're up against Salah. Ain't going to happen. It did, and he done very, very well.
He was all over the place as well, wasn't he? Let's talk about your former club, Manchester United. Of course, the business they've done, Jadon Sancho in, that was obviously a very drawn-out process. Rafa Varane come in, the centre-half, and they've got this Portuguese lad in that's come back as well. I don't know if you've heard about it.
There was a rumour about that, but can you tell me his name, please?
Ron somebody.
Ron Ronson.
I mean, the fanfare is going to be huge, that first game back for him.
Oh, of course it is. It's going to be one of those moments again. It's going to mostly go down in history at United. They're going to make so big of it because it is a massive marketing thing that's gone on, which is just Manchester United's way they've gone, and it's put pressure on the manager now. They expect to see that little bit more from him for this season. He has to compete, in my opinion, for everything, right to the end, to the bitter end of everything. He needs to win something for himself as well. I'm sure he needs it as a manager. He's feeling that little bit where he's managing Manchester United and he wants to win a trophy. He's won a load as a player. He wants to go and win a trophy, as a manager as well, because there hasn't been many Manchester United managers who have done that for that club, gone and won both. So it's all there, and if it isn't there in him, then that fire in the belly, then he shouldn't be managing the club. But it must be now. I don't know whether he signed him or the marketing machine signed him.
You mentioned Jack Grealish before, didn't you, about no one else having him, that's where they wanted him. And is that a similar thought to Ronaldo? I mean, if he went to City, it would damage his legacy, so they wanted him. And does he hinder the development of somebody like Mason Greenwood? But on the other hand, I mean, this is how I was originally seeing it, a bit considering coming in, but you think about it, £20 million for one of the greatest players that the world has ever seen, and what he brings as a professional atmosphere, and what he brings to these young players maybe in training behind the scenes, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
26 million, if he was 26 years of age, then I would turn around and definitely be jumping up and down. You're talking 36 now. You're looking at it's definitely, on the marketing side of it, it does hinder the likes of, I think, Mason Greenwood, who I saw him play at Queen's Park Rangers in the centre forward role. He only played for 45 minutes and it was, wow. You could see he'd learned from watching Cavani and being around him. It was incredible. Even QPR fans were just, they wanted to have a go at him because because he was recognisable in that way. He's made a name for himself, always the first to be attacked. In the end, they didn't say anything. He was brilliant. They were pleased to see him come off. Excellent against Leeds, through the middle, movement off the ball and around, caused so many problems. Then he plays wide, and he plays him wide against Southampton, brings back Martial, kills it. Then Martial goes off, he goes in the middle, he's alive. So straight away now he's gone to third choice as centre forward. It's not really the way I kind of saw it United. Sir Alex was always about young players. If they're coming through, you can't stop them. You don't want to step in away because you don't want them to lose their confidence.
Well, he got the win at the weekend against Wolves from out wide when Cavani came on, but that was a bizarre game. I mean, United could easily have been 4 or 5 down if Wolves had the finishing boots on, which brings you a little bit of a concern about them at the back still.
There's always going to be a concern at the back until he gets his centre midfield sorted out. There's still problems there. But for me, that's always been a priority, centre midfield. And it isn't right. It's not going to be right. You look at so many midfields in this Premier League, and I'll tell you one midfield which is better than them is West Ham, and that's with Souček and with Declan Rice in there. They're 2 better midfield players, a better unit than what Manchester United have got. In that sense, 2 players who can hold, 2 players who can go forwards and be comfortable in both areas.
Do you expect Rice to be a Manchester United player perhaps next summer?
I think there's cheaper options at this moment in time. You've seen what they've done with Jack Grealish. They've labelled him 100 million. Straight away, if you're one of Sullivan and Gold, just saying, well, Declan Rice, I want 100 million. I might want plus, but nothing less than that. You have to, because you've got fans there who are going to go, what's going on? If Jack Grealish is worth that, why isn't Declan Rice? So, no, I don't. And I'll say it again here, as I've said it before everywhere, Basuma was the one that Manchester United should have got. He's the one who could make a difference because of his energy levels, what technically he's about in both boxes. But for some reason, he doesn't seem to get a mention. It's always...
He was strongly linked with Liverpool as well in the closing days.
Yeah, I mean, but there's all these superstars who are overseas, and you think to yourself, well, no. Look at the ones who are actually doing it now in the Premier League, who come across as unknowns, who have come into it and hit the ground running. He's done that at Brighton.
He certainly has. Right, we've talked about the top 4 then. Let's have a look at the bets as it stands in terms of the title race. Man City 6-5 favourites, I mentioned the odds on pre-season. Chelsea 11-4, and then Manchester United and Liverpool both at 5-1. Are we in for a much tighter title race this time round?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I really do think it's going to be better than what it was last season. Last season was unenjoyable because of what was going on. The previous one, Liverpool ran away with it as such, or with the better team by a country mile. Didn't enjoy the end bit of it at all. As Liverpool players, the fans never enjoyed it. So they mostly want to win a title to taste the aftermath of it as well. But I think when you look at that, it is going to be more tightly contested this season than what it was last season.
Still City the team to beat? I think Chelsea take them all the way.
I think Chelsea will definitely take them all the way. It could be the other way around. Chelsea could be the ones who City have got to try and grab hold of and stay in there and maybe do something at the end. But I think if you look at what Chelsea have got down on paper as a squad and you compare that to City's, Chelsea's looked the stronger in my opinion.
We'll have a look at the top 4 race and the relegation battle shortly. Before we do, talk about the Golden Boot as well. I know this is something you might not know about being a defender and not too many goals. But Lukaku's favourite, and it's interesting what you mentioned when we talked about him before, about the very good game against Arsenal, got on the score sheet anonymous against Liverpool. So I think maybe he could be taking on. Mo Salah's always going to be there or thereabouts, 9-2. Ronaldo's come in 5-1. Harry Kane's a big drifter. He's not scored yet, of course, 6-1, but he's going to get chances to score goals. Now he's committed to Spurs. 14-1 Fernandes, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. He started the season 3-3.
Yeah, I mean, he has started well, but I don't think you can really look at Calvert-Lewin in that sense. I think Everton are going to have a battle this season. I think you always have to mention Lukaku because of he's at Chelsea. Is he going to win a Golden Boot? Is it going to be that easy for him compared to what it was at Inter Milan to score goals? No, it's not going to be that easy for him. It's going to be very, very difficult. He's playing for a big team. He's the most expensive striker in the country. So people are going to make it tough for him. And they've seen what he was like. They've seen how Van Dijk dealt with him. People are going to play in similar ways. Van Dijk didn't try to fight him. And he could fight him if he wanted to. But his idea of defending was, I'll wait for you to have your touch and then I'll assess it from there. And that's the best way to do it. Because if you fight fire with fire sometimes, it doesn't work. You have to use a bit of guile. And Van Dijk done that. And he just nicked it off his toes. Just waited for him to make the move, have the touch, and then he nicked it.
I mean, just looking at the top of the market, are these players have been playing 90 minutes every weekend in the Premier League, bearing in mind they're in European action as well?
You look at Lukaku and you think he just might, because he mostly demand it, because he's that way in his own way selfish. He wants to win that. No different to Harry Kane. Harry Kane wants to play to score goals to win. Another one, Ronaldo. He's going to want to come back. He's going to want everything looking at him. He's going to want to score as many goals as possible. So it'll be interesting who takes the penalties at Manchester United next season.
It certainly will be. That is indeed an interesting question. Let's just move on to the top four then, because do you think those top four we've mentioned will be the top four?
Yes, to be perfectly honest. I don't think we're. I think when we look at it now, we don't look at a top six anymore. I think we have to put that to bed. The top six as such. Stop using that terminology because it's kind of, it's fading a little bit, especially with one team at this moment in time. Tottenham are not really going to compete for a top four, in my opinion. Then you might look at Leicester. Leicester, a little bit disjointed at the moment in time with injuries and whatever, but they don't look like the same side. And when I was at West Ham, I saw him play. Was it West Ham? I'm trying to think where I saw him play.
West Ham,
it was
10 men,
yeah,
4-0, yeah.
Yeah, and they wasn't that good. Even prior going down to 10 men, they wasn't what Leicester normally start better. So they've got a bit of work to do. And we have to say, when you look at it, and United haven't been that great, but they're still sorting out a few little issues. But you look at Liverpool, you look at Chelsea, and you look at Manchester City, they're definitely going to finish in the top four. It's about who's going to join them, and Man United look the closest.
Yeah, and the market, as you can see, is obviously suggesting that as well. It's 5-2, bar those four for a top four finish. But let's bring in Spurs, who their biggest business was keeping Kane, and they've tied Son down to a contract as well. Got a couple of defenders in, Emerson Royal, Christian Romero, Brian Gilliam from Sevilla. You mentioned West Ham as well. They're unbeaten, they're 3 from 3. Obviously bang up there at present. Everton showing signs of improvement under Benitez. You know what you're going to get with the Benitez side. Everton, you mentioned Leicester. I think Leicester have signed really well. So there'll be a battle there, but you think they are battling out for the other European places?
I think so, yeah. West Ham's 2 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
So they've done. I mean, they should have been 3 out of 3. But yes, they've done well. No West Ham fans ever believe in Champions League. They won't even talk about it. They enjoyed last season, loved it, but they knew that that it was always going to be tough. And even being in Europe, it's going to take its toll on them, I would have thought.
And is there a bit of a feel-good factor coming back? I mean, I know they don't get on with the owners, they don't like the owners, but they've splashed the cash in the last few days.
They have done a bit. I don't think the hate with the bosses is really ever going to change, regardless of every time they go to that stadium, the fans, they'll always think of them. It ain't going to change. While they're winning games, it makes a big difference in any walk of life. Winning games of football make a difference. West Ham are winning games and they're playing in a fashion which is enjoyable as well. And they're looking forward to the United game coming up as well. After the next game after, isn't it? It's the week after the international. So they're looking forward to that one as well because they enjoy a big game at home. So I still think they're out there and they're going to be talking about maybe Europa League places. I think the definite 3, Manchester United should take the full spot.
Just giving an order then, best of the rest. Obviously outside the top 4, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I mean, I think we're looking at these 4. Spurs.
I think we're looking at Spurs, Leicester. Oh, and it gets a bit tough then. It gets really. I'm gonna throw it in. I'm gonna hate saying it but you got to look at some point. Arsenal are going to have to come good. History says they have to come good. Their history stops anybody ever talking about them going down. To be perfectly honest, they'll get through it somehow. If it means a change of manager to liven it up, someone who's going to shout and scream and maybe wake up the players who are maybe disrespecting the present manager, then so be it. But they can't carry on in the way they are, Arsenal. It just doesn't seem right. It's not what everyone's used to.
Well, the talk is there for relegation. Because they're pointless after 3, not scoring a goal. 20-1 they are to be relegated. I think it's 13-8 for a bottom half finish as well. And you're right. They've got to come good. There's too many stars there not to come good, and they will climb the table at some point. However, it's been an awful start, hasn't it? They've spent 150 million, and the players that have come in, with the greatest respect, you don't see them being top 4 signings. They look like, just top half signings.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to look at it and say, well, you're not a top 4 club anymore. You've got to look at maybe earning the right to become one, but that means a bit of hard work. You have to maybe go around and earn, go around to win battles to maybe then go on and try and compete to win the war. And I think that's what Arsenal are having to do. They might just need honest players out there who are going to dig in. George Graham, look at what George Graham done back in the 80s when he took over there and he dug deep. And you look at Arsenal's team that won in 89, I think it was. And you wouldn't suddenly come out and say they were great, but they were all honest and everyone work for each other. And if you get that, it gets you back on the road and that little bit of quality will come through. Is Lacazette and Aubameyang, are they going to turn up? Are they going to walk around sulking?
Everything seems to revolve around Smith Rowe at the minute. He's been a revelation. What concerns me, and I go back to the United era from a decade ago when Ferguson left it, the young English kids that United have famed on the academy. I mean, the likes of Maitland-Niles, the likes of Willock. Maitland-Niles wanted out. Willock, they've shipped out to Newcastle. Are they the type of young, fearless players that, like Smith Rowe, could have done something for Arteta?
I really don't know. I know the Willock at Newcastle, it just took Steve Bruce so long to play him. He kept bringing him off the bench and he was like a breath of fresh air. Then he had that run at the back end of the season, got him out of jail, won games for him, all of a sudden chased him and got him to sign a contract. Now, if you're an Arsenal fan and you're sitting there, you're watching this lad doing it, and you know, really at the tough end of the table, coming off the bench, shrugging people off, working in tight areas, scoring unbelievable goals for Newcastle at St James's Park, you think to yourself, I want that fight in my team. I want somebody up there who wants to prove a point. And Nketiah has done all right, maybe away from Arsenal alone, hasn't done it for Arsenal. Willock was doing it. He was doing it in the Premier League, doing it regular, so you'd want him. But for some reason they sold him. Surely there must be somebody within that club who's saying, we've nurtured this lad all the way through, given up a lot of time, can't put a value on that time, because you can't put value on time. We want to see, him do that for us. We want to see you use him, utilise him that way. That's what maybe a director of football should be saying. That would mostly be coming from above when you're being asked to spend money. But you've got someone out there who's doing it for Newcastle against other sides in the Premier League. You want him to play for you. You want him doing it for your team. So that's what I thought a director of football done, because he was getting signals from upstairs, and that's his way of saying, look, I'm saving your money. We're going to do that. That's a job well done, isn't it, to save money? Not just to keep spending, and they haven't got it right in certain ways.
Does it fall at the door of Eddie, or has Arteta got to take some of the blame?
Well, it's two of them. They're working together. The club have got to take the blame. It's the club. The problems start from the top, doesn't it really? I mean, you find the biggest problems in the house is when the roof starts leaking, and I think that's what's happening at Arsenal. The people at the top are causing problems down below.
Just briefly mention Newcastle. We'll have a word about them, because you say that you can't script this, but it looks like it already has been done, because they've kind of followed the script of Goal, that film from a few years ago. Signed in a Mexican teenager, Santiago Munez, for social media traction. I mean, it's an incredible story, isn't it? I mean, Mike Ashley's still at the helm. Steve Bruce doing a wonderful job, but it's been a tough start for him again.
Well, I mean, we all say Bruce is doing a wonderful job, but anyone who's a Geordie says he's doing an awful job. They hate him, they want him out. We all feel sorry for him, but he'll stick in there because it's his boyhood club. You know, it's as simple as that. He'll stick in there until such time they let him go. But I think everyone likes him, loves Steve Bruce, great person to have around. And it's difficult, that job. It's
poison chalice.
It is without a doubt, because expectations are so high when they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be that high. But that's the way the club has been. I don't think it's going to change in my lifetime, you know, and they think they should be handed a league title, handed a great manager, handed a great team. But you have to, as I said before, you have to earn the right. And Newcastle, you can't just go around pleading it all the time and then talk about somebody, the wrong person in a job. They've got the right person who's respected by everybody in that league. Managers all respect Steve Bruce. And you've got to give him a chance. Forget about Rafa Benitez. Bruce is trying to do something different. He's gone in the right way. He finished off the season really, really well. Give him a chance. And I think it puts the players under pressure. The players must be under immense pressure. One horse town. They can't walk around without football being thrown in their face. It's a tough place to go and play as a player.
6-4 Newcastle for the drop. I'm not sure if they're in your three. Just give us a three. You've seen, I know it's only three games, not what we can read into it. Norwich have had a really awful start, of course, with some tough matches. Their odds on 4-6. I think Crystal Palace, I think personally Crystal Palace will be good enough. They've got Edson Edward, he's going to start scoring, but I think they're a young side who will improve as the season goes on. Just give us three that you think may be doomed.
It's difficult to name three because things are changing so much. I saw Palace.
Give us about 7 or 8.
I saw Palace playing the EFL against Watford, and I'm looking now and going, wow, this mob could never score. Even though you roll out a carpet, you open the door, they'd run into a brick wall. They wouldn't run through the door. That's the way they looked.
Yeah,
But
we're about Wolves in that sense after the Sunday.
Yeah, but then Wolves are gonna. It's going to happen for Wolves.
You feel like they're going to hammer somebody.
They are. They should have done that. They should have done that to Tottenham as well. But I look at Crystal Palace, and all of a sudden, I watched them at West Ham in the second half, and blooming hell, talk about having to eat a bit of humble pie. You know, it was just incredible performance in the second half from what it was in the first half and what it was against Watford. You can quite, you know. So I look at them and I say no. My one cert is Norwich, but Norwich do not really send out any messages to anybody that they are trying to stay in the Premier League. Nothing comes from it. Their signings don't. They're content to come in, earn a bit of money off of players, and then accept it in certain ways. Sounds awful to say, but if you're a Norwich fan, I don't think you're kidding yourself thinking that it's even going to be a battle to stay up. I think you're accepting it already that you're going to go down.
Looking forward to a championship title shot next year.
Yeah. but I mean, if you're talking about it, if you can actually get the business model, lay it out, and then say it's going to happen every year, it's great, isn't it? You think what you can turn over every year. There's no negativity going down, except maybe just the fact of you're relegated. But then you think once that's gone, it's forgotten, and then you rise up. You win the league, you come up.
In the Championship, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is a massive gamble. But if you've got someone who's experienced, like now their manager, because they won't sack the manager if they go down, they'll keep him knowing and believing that he can get them back up again.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Right, so we're on internationals at present. We've had 3 weekends so far, so we can't really tell too much. But I feel like we've got football back with the fans in, and VAR not playing as major role.
VAR's not playing a major role because the people above have, I think they got a little bit embarrassed by what happened in the Euros. Everyone loved the Euros. We saw referees coming in from overseas, and we used to moan about them before overseas, how they were too soft, they were allowing it. All of a sudden they've come in and they just firm, they turn around and just running away, telling people to get up, stop messing. And honestly, all of a sudden everyone's gone, the fans were kind of going, wow, the game ain't stopping. Instead of watching 60 minutes of football, now they're getting about maybe 80 minutes. The ball's in play 80 minutes. I saw it when I was at West Ham the other day. You've seen the referees just telling people, 2 people went together, they kind of both fell over, they're both looking at the referee, go on then, go one way, and the referee's just gone, use his arms as they do, get very dramatic, come in together, play on. And you think, wow, yeah, it was, you're 100%. But all it's taken is Mike Riley to say, this, I want you to do this. You think to yourself, why don't you do it before? As your own people doing a job. Don't be dictated to. If it's not a foul,
they were asking him to do this last year, weren't they? And he wouldn't bring it in.
But now he's going. But it's just embarrassing because he was killing the game. People are losing their love for football because they was just seeing people playing to it. And that's maybe one of the biggest gains of the pandemic was everyone heard it. We was hearing it, watching games of football. And people are getting embarrassed by maybe players who play for their team, embarrassed by other players. They're moaning, they're screaming, and then they're getting up all the time. So, honestly, it's been fantastic watching football now. Not as good as the 80s, though, where we used to run around, you know, with a broken leg and things like that.
Short shorts.
Short shorts. As the myth has it, we ran around with everything. We got on with it. But, no, it's good. Really good.
There was football prior to the Premier League.
Oh, I just thought I mentioned that bit, by the way. Yeah, that's right, yeah. My whole career didn't stem from 92.
No, but we've had 3 weeks down. We've got 35 weeks of intense drama ahead of us in the Premier League. The top 4, Paul thinks, will be their top 4 as we know it now, according to the market suggests so as well. Chelsea and City being broad in the title race. It could be Spurs and Leicester best of the rest, and any from 6 or 7 could be destined for the drop. But he does say Arsenal should be okay, and a turn of a decent run should be just around the corner. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the international football the best you can for the serious stuff starting next weekend. So please join us next week as we look ahead to match day 4 in the Premiership.